Hi, guys. Cecile Edwards here of the Mommy Matters podcast. I have to tell you, if you have not heard about Anchor, it is the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. Did I tell you that you can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership? It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download your Anchor app or go to Anchor FM, anchor.fm to get started. You will not be dissatisfied. Welcome to the Mommy Matters podcast, where Mommy Matters is a double entendre that states and declares that mommies matter, where we have conversations surrounding mommy matters, from conception to pregnancy to postpartum, mother and father wounds, dating, mindfulness and self-care, spirituality, parenting, discipline, legislation, money, and so much more. It is my hope and my prayer that the information that you gather here serves as a blueprint for generational and individual ascension. Enjoy. Welcome to the Mommy Matters podcast. I am your host, Cecile Edwards, CEO of Mommy Evolve. I am here to do an episode today about mommy friends, why they're important, some things that may block us from keeping our circles tight, some lessons that we can learn, and some ways that we can implement holding on to and keeping mommy friend relationships going. First of all, let me just say I am the caregiver's caregiver, right? So I teach about self-care. I talk about intergenerational healing and destroying some of those negative cycles, as well as building on some of the positive traits that we have in our bloodlines. Because yes, there are. Some people may not see it that way, but there are plenty. And this idea of mommy friends is something that kept on coming up in my spirit. If you hear a little ting, that's my my tuning fork that I'm using. Don't mind that. I use that for Reiki treatments, etc., or just use it for myself. I'll hit it on something and then put it in my ear and let the 432 hertz sound ring in my brain that helps to rebalance me, restructure me, keep me grounded. At any hoot, getting back to this mommy friends idea, this is such a critical issue because I've heard so many, or critical cause because I've heard so many mothers say how they feel isolated. And I also think back on my experience, I also felt isolated after I had a child. One, you feel like, well, I can't get out as much because, taking the children out too much can be a lot. It's a lot of work, right? But that doesn't mean that you should stay isolated. We need communities in order to stay focused, to feel loved, to build up our energy. We pour into others and others pour into us, and we feel a sense of belonging, a sense of fulfillment. Okay. And I'm troubled by the fact that I had the experience that I had, and that I'm still hearing the stories about women who had the experiences that they had as well. And I'm wondering, well, why is that happening? And what are some correlations, right? Because I like to correlate or think about maybe the possible connection that some things have to the other. So when I think about it, I'm a Capricorn, y'all. So I think about things in nature my grounding constantly comes back to thinking about nature and how nature processes things and how I can be more like nature. Now, that can take you into a lot of different directions, but nature is definitely a teacher. But when I think about communities and being together in groups, we know that people thrive. We always say that teenagers in the education community, because that's my background as well in education as a teacher. We always say that teenagers need groups to feel validated, supported, but it's not just teenagers, it's all of us. It's all of us, right? Yes, we can grow, and have the mentality of, this is who I am and I can be who I am. But ultimately, you still need a community to validate, to test your skills on, to give you that boost of encouragement towards doing what you do and being who you are. I mean, I know that some of us have had people who said to us, why are you doing that? That's not who you are, or what seems to be fitting for you. That's a beautiful thing to have somebody say that to you, by the way. Let me just say that. Sometimes it can be a negative thing, but sometimes it can be a thing where if you know that that's somebody that has known you for a long time and is pouring love into you, it's a beautiful thing. So everything in nature thrives in community. When you look at the birds, they're flocking together. When you look at the geese, they're flocking together. I have a funny story about geese because they straight tried to chase us one day. Lord. I was a caregiving for a family. That's a whole nother story. Y'all will hear about that one day. But when you look in nature, there's a thriving in a community, in packs. So how do we get to this mindset that I'm going to do it all by myself? I'm a single, or I don't need anybody, or you sit and stewing in your depression and your sadness and you have no one to be vulnerable with. That's dangerous. And I have a personal theory that honestly, oftentimes our inability to be vulnerable and to connect in that way is what causes depression, what causes anxiety, what causes us to live in this bubble of feeling like we have to function and operate like somebody that we're not in order to be accepted into little pockets of groups that aren't feeding us and we're not feeding them because we're not even being who we are. And when you're talking about motherhood, that energy is being brought into your existence, into your household. How are you able to teach your child to be who they are when you yourself are not being who you are and you're not able to connect? How? So this is about teaching ourselves, but also about teaching our children how to be in community, how to thrive in that way. We don't have to live in a bubble. And this level of being alone, it disrupts our legacy. Let me just go there. How does it disrupt our legacy, Cecile? Well, if you consider it, and I've been saying this for some years now, and I'm so thankful that I have been on the path and been in the process of getting these things for my daughter. But having a community that your children can rely on and it not just be you. First of all, you are not Superwoman. I know we all want to be and think that we can do everything and all of that. But the best thing we can do is have the knowledge of some basic principles to know that we need community and to teach our children how to be their best selves and how to discern and how to work diligently towards their goals and how to love themselves. But you also need a community in which other people are doing the same so that they can feel validated. You also need a community of people who have their gifts and they can share it and they can teach your children things as well. They need their aunties and uncles too. And if you're not healthy, you can't even vet those kinds of people to bring into your children's lives. If everyone that you come across, your mentality between them, across them is, oh, I don't know about them. and you don't have any solid way to vet, to build a community, you don't even know what you want in a community, that's dangerous. That's dangerous for your children who are missing out on opportunities. That's dangerous for them to be able to have people to go to talk to. It's dangerous for them to not understand how to build relationships or what to look for in relationships that they are building. It's dangerous. It's disruptive to your legacy, because people thrive in communities. If you look at anybody who is successful, they will tell you that my relationships got me here. Yes, I did my work, but my relationships, the people that I was in relationship with who believed in me, who told me to keep going, the people who were positive towards me, that is what makes a collective of mommy friends so powerful. Okay. And so there is another thing because when I look at going back to what I just said, birds of a feather flock together. So I'm looking at some women who I follow and I admire, and whose lives I look at, and I notice that they are thriving, and their learning curve is shorter, and their bouts of unhappiness are shorter, because they have people there who love them, who check up on them, who talk to them, who give them praise, who give them love, who they can do things with, explore things with, okay, who they're committed to because they want that same commitment back. So mommy friends is not just about, having, yes, we can come together and talk about our issues, but we need to come with that issue being reflected on, not just dumping on our sisters. So that's one of my tips. When you're talking to your friends, when you're building relationships, know how to discuss what you may be going through. Know how to see through the lens of that issue, and see how you may be affecting the person you're talking to. Because oftentimes, and I've done it, so I'm not even, when I was in my days of woe is me, I would do that. I would call people and try to dump on them, and they would ignore me. Right? So that's something that we may need to reflect on. Are you being ignored because you are, talking about things that are just adding to another person's heaviness? Or are you calling them and having a reflective conversation where you're learning and growing, and you're pouring into them while you're reflecting, and they're pouring into you while they're reflecting? That's a whole different conversation, because we all have troubles and problems. But if we could call in somebody just to say, oh, guess what so-and-so did to me, instead of saying, you know what happened, and this is what I learned from it, whole different conversation, whole different movement. Nobody wants to feel stagnant. So that's one of my tips. Another thing that I want you all to do is to look at the statistics on motherhood and poverty. Okay. And I want you to think about how community impacts that. Right? Just think about it. I'm not going to go into a whole thing because I wanted this to be short, and it's longer than I thought it would be. All right. So let me give you 3 tips. I gave you one already, so this is another 3. You have 4. It's bonus. 3 tips on improving and building friendships. 1, stay connected. Call the person, text the person. Even if you are like, oh, they're not calling me, send them a text just saying, hey, girl, have a beautiful day. Those matter. Those little nuggets, those little seeds matter. I know getting them from people that I know have mattered to me, and I know that me sending them, there's been people that I just picked up the phone and called, and I didn't even have a deep relationship with them, but something dropped in my spirit that I needed to connect with them. That's massaging the energy around you, saying to the universe that you're looking for that kind of relationship, right? that you're looking for loving relationships by showing and sending that kind of love. And trust me, you will get it back. The second thing is get together without frills. Make your home theirs. Everything doesn't have to be a production. I know we're used to reading or looking at these TV shows with the wives of this and that, and they're always getting together with champagne and mimosas and, hors d'oeuvres, and it don't gotta be all that. Okay? You can just come to each other. Your house could be messy. Y'all come together, eat some donuts, laugh at something funny, talk to one another about some things that has been on your mind, try to troubleshoot together and see how things work. Those things matter. They matter. We always talk about how when we were younger, the whole community could whoop you behind. The whole community could whoop you behind. It wasn't just your mom or your dad, the whole community, right? And that's because people were interested in ensuring the health of the children that were coming up in the community. So get together without frills, talk about things, cook together in the house. Y'all don't have to buy no food. If budgeting is an issue, cook together. Buy some little foods and throw something together. Buy some little packs of food to bake something together and eat together. And while you're cooking is such a loving thing to do toward one another together. And eat together. Let your children eat together. Let you all make food together. Let you all get clean together. And talk in the process. Talk and get some things out. Everything does not have to be a production. Keep it simple. Life is simple, man. Get together and just try on some clothes together. Life is simple. Don't complicate it. And explore vulnerability healthily. Express yourself truthfully about the things that you feel. Express yourself truthfully. I know that's a difficult thing, but it's honestly, those kinds of things are not about other people. It's about you and releasing what you got going on in you. Right? And the more you can be vulnerable with somebody, the more they can be vulnerable with you. You're setting the tone. And I know vulnerability is tough. I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm reading a book called The Gift of Imperfection by Brené Brown. Wonderful book. It talks about vulnerability in such a way that is so easy to understand. I think she even has a blog where she talks about it. Brené Brown. She's been on Oprah and such. Really like her books. But explore your vulnerability and really just talk about the things that you are actually feeling. Don't let your coming together be about fakeness and try to put up airs. And no, be real. That's how you build true sustainable friendships and relationships. Not by being fake. Be yourself. Be yourself. Explore what that means among and between sisters. And yes, I know that sometimes it can be difficult. I know that sometimes some people can't handle that, and so they take it a certain way. But that's called trial and error. That's life. It's life. Do it in a supported mindset of, I'm doing this to grow. Don't do it with the mindset of you're putting everything on somebody else to validate you necessarily. You're doing it to grow for yourself and also learning how to build community. So I'm going to close out by saying, I think that thinking that you're doing everything by yourself is considered an extreme sport. It has no rules. There's no regulations. It's nebulous. You may get hurt. It's very likely you'll get hurt and you won't. And your wins, first of all, you can't even win. An extreme sport, you still need a team. To bungee jump, you need somebody who knows how to calculate bungee jumping, how to calculate when you need to jump out of that plane or jump out of that, off of the, whatever, bungee jump in skydiving. Okay? You just feel like you're doing it all by yourself, but quite frankly, you're not. Think about a team sport. Team sports, everybody plays their position. Everybody's needed for something. You build a team on and off the court or on and off the field in times of vulnerability as well as times of love. So Mommy Friends is all about building that mother community so that we can build our legacy. We can build together. We can grow together. We can be intentional about how we live our lives and see the importance of such a strong community. So I look forward to seeing you, friends. There's so much to learn. There's so much that I want to teach you. There's so much that I want to discuss with you. There's so much that we have to talk about. Mommy Friends. Hey, friend. I look forward to talking to you. Bye-bye. Did you like that? I know it was as informative for you as it was for me. Look, this is a process for all of us. And to keep this process going, I would love to invite you to donate to our podcast. We want to continue to give you high-level content, beautiful content that enlightens and inspires and broadens your vision to elevate you and evolve. So please feel free to go to the podcast page at anchor.fm/Mommy Matters. We would love to hear your questions and comments as well so that we can discuss them in future podcasts. And you can email that to momevolve@gmail.com. You can also visit the website and send your comments there. www.mommyevolve.com. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Peace and love.